In the last session, we talked about your mindset, how to have an executive mindset, how to be okay about money, how to think about being that senior leader and having the belief that you're going to get there. We talked about all those limiting beliefs that are not true and that you can choose to think differently. Today, I want to talk about success. In this session, I want you to get clear on what success actually looks like for you. Because if you want to have that six-figure career, you need to be clear about the direction that you're going in. So my question is, do you know what success looks like for you? Have you thought about it? Have you spent some time, really reflecting on what success does look like for you? Because success looks different for everybody. And it's really vital that we do actually understand what success looks like for us. Otherwise, how can we achieve it? How can we take the right action if we don't know the direction we're going in? And sometimes we're just so busy, aren't we, that we don't stop to think. We don't stop and take the time to really reflect on what's important to us, what we're passionate about. And actually, are we in the right job? Are we doing the right thing? Or have we just fallen into something and followed that path, or just taken either the path of least resistance or the path that's expected of you? But we need to be thinking about this. So I want you to have a think about getting clear, because to get that six-figure career, you need to have an aim and you need to have a plan. So do you know what success looks like for you? If you do, then have a little think, write it down. What is your dream job? What is the job that you would really like to do? Write it down. Think big though. Don't think small. Never mind how you're going to get there or how you're going to achieve it, but let's just think big. What would be your dream job? What would you really love to do? And if you don't know, then that's okay for the moment. Hopefully by the end of this session, you'll have a better idea. And certainly once you've done the work, you'll have a better idea of what that actually looks like for you. Because once we get clear, then we can plan the right actions that take us in the right direction. It's a bit like having a career sat nav, isn't it? When you go somewhere, you have to have the postcode or the destination. Otherwise, you can't plan the journey. How will you ever get there if you don't know where your end goal is? And this is just the same. We want to have an end. How do we get clear on what success is for us? Well, there's a few steps that we can take, and I'm going to walk you through them here. So take some notes. You can come back and revisit this or pause it as you go, whichever works best for you. But there is a piece of work to do here. And sometimes it might take you more than a few minutes, because you might have to have a real think about it, have a bit of a reflect on it, and then, come back to it. So watch this through, listen to the steps that you need to take, and then come back and work on it. So the first thing I want you to think about is, what are your basic needs? So we all have some basic needs that we want. So for example, there will be a certain amount of income that you have to have. You just simply have to have it to cover your bills. So your basic needs, understand what your basic needs actually are. What is the minimum salary that you could work for? And I mean, not minimum as in poverty line or anything, but minimum as in to have a comfortable life and do the things that you need to do. Then how much money do you need? What sort of hours do you need to work? What sort of flexibility do you need? Have you got responsibilities that you need to deal with? So, be very clear, the actual basic needs. Do you need 9 to 5? Do you need part-time? Do you need to be starting early and finishing early? Do you need it to be more flexible than that? What is it that you need? And these are basic needs. This is not, at the moment, this is not what you'd actually like, but from a basic needs point of view, because it's really good just to have this real basic needs. If nothing else, you have to meet this. This is the starting point of success. Any job you go for has to meet these needs. And what about location? Is location important to you? Do you drive? Maybe you need to get a train. Maybe it needs to be local because you need to be close by for children. I know there's a lot of people working from home now, but I'm also seeing quite a lot of people being pushed back into the office. So location is still a consideration for you to have. And what about your responsibilities? Understand what your responsibilities are. What childcare have you got? Some other caring responsibilities that you may have. Whatever it might be, have a think about your responsibilities. So that's step one, is really just get clear on your absolute basic needs. Because when you go looking for a new job, it's really important that the job meets your needs. And the basic needs have to be almost non-negotiable. You know, there's no point in going for a job when they say you've got to be in the office 5 days a week if that doesn't work for you. Don't even apply. There's no point. You know, sometimes you can negotiate after you've got the job, but that's a risk. That's a risky approach. So step number 2 is, what are your priorities? What are the things that are best for you? So have a think here about freedom. You know, what sort of freedom do you need in a job? Or are you not bothered? Are you happy that people tell you what hours you need to work and what tasks you need to do? Trust, you know, is it important that you get trusted by your employer? You know, what sort of trust are you talking about? Do you want to feel empowered? Do you want to have the authority to just get on with your job, or does that not matter to you? It might be about salary. It might be that actually what's a priority for you is earning more money, even if that means you work longer hours, even if it's not as flexible, even if it doesn't meet all your other needs. Maybe money is what it's all about for you. And there's no wrong or right here. This is whatever comes up for you. Maybe it's about status. Maybe you want that job title, or maybe you want the authority to do things. Maybe you want people to look up to you. Maybe you want to be that person that's got the status, that is known for, being important. But maybe it's more about making a difference. Maybe it's about having an impact on something, way, shape, or form, whether that's, from a charitable point of view, whether that's from a, adding value to somebody else's life, or, whatever making a difference is for you. And again, there's no right or wrong here. You don't have to change the world to make a difference. You could just organize the spreadsheets or have perfect filing. Whatever is that means to you, then is it about that? Is it that you want to make a difference to something? And, coming back to the environment, what sort of environment do you work best in? Do you work better from home? Is that what works for you? Maybe actually you like the buzz of being in the office. Maybe actually you enjoy retail and you want to be, front of service in a shop, or you want to be, the general manager of a shop, or maybe you like working outside and so you're looking for a job that's going to take you out and about a lot more, maybe because you love driving. What environment works for you? Be really clear about what it is that works for you. And then, maybe you want a safe environment. You want to know that you're secure in your job. You want to feel safe. Or actually, maybe you like a bit of a risk. Maybe you're happy, like, flying by the seat of your pants. Maybe you like to be challenged. These are all really important things that you need to get clear about in your mind, so that when you go looking for this job, when we build this career roadmap, you know the environment that you want to be in. So that's 1 and 2. Number 3 is your values. Understand what your values are. Now, we all have values, and sometimes we don't spend a lot of time thinking about them, but inside you do know what's important to you from a value point of view. Now, this could be things around, honesty and integrity, but it might be things like adventure and fun. Some of the things I really want you to have a think about around values would be things around like sustainability, for example. If you've got a really strong value around, living a sustainable life, then you need to find a job where the values of the organization match your own, where you know that they are doing everything that they can to care for the environment and to run a sustainable business. Because if you start working for an organization that doesn't give two hoots about it, then it's not going to work for you. It's not going to be the right place for you. Excuse me. Similarly, perhaps maybe you've got a real commercial mindset, and so charity work or public sector is not going to be right for you. Actually, you love the cut and thrust of sales. You love the commerciality of that, the fast pace of that commerciality sector, and vice versa, of course. If you're more about, saving money and offering value and creating value for people in people's lives, then a commercial approach is probably not what you want. So these are really important things. Maybe you're a really innovative, creative person, and you need to work in an organization that's really forward thinking, that uses technology for innovation, not some, small pot company or some public sector company that are a bit behind the times. Again, none of this is wrong or right. I'm just trying to get across to you that you need to understand what works for you. So be really clear on what your values are. You need to be matching yourself to organizations. And most organizations publish their values and that these days. Whether they live up to them is another matter, but you won't know that when you're applying for a job. But these are things to think about when you go for an interview, perhaps when you're looking up and researching things about an organization. You know, what are people saying about them? Does it match what you think and what you need from an organization? It's just so important to find the right culture to fit into, because if you find yourself working for an organization that doesn't match your values, then you won't be happy there. It's very unlikely that you'll be happy there. So, and if you find an organization where you really slot in and you fit with their values, then the likelihood is that you'll flourish and you'll really work well there. So the fourth thing I want to talk about is passions. What are your passions? You know, what drives you? What do you feel is your purpose? Almost like, what is the reason you get up and go to work in the morning? And I'm talking about things like, they don't have to be big things, but often, you know, I come across people, and perhaps it might be that you're really passionate about ending homelessness. Now, you're not going to do that on your own, but you want to work for an organization that is targeting that sort of change in the world. So what is it that drives you? You know, is it ending homelessness? Is it serving customers and giving them the best experience that they could possibly have in whatever service it is that you're providing? You know, actually, for me, it's like inspiring women to develop themselves. That's what drives me. That's what's always driven me. Not always women, just, you know, when I was in the corporate workplace, it was always about helping people develop themselves. But now I'm, you know, focusing on helping women to unlock their potential. And that's what drives me. That's what my passion is. But, you know, it could be something smaller. It could be building amazing spreadsheets that help your team out. It could be paying invoices in time so that the organization is always financially in a good place. It doesn't have to be big, but it has to drive you. You want to be passionate about it, because if you're going to climb that ladder, you're going to be involving yourself in corporate strategy and, you know, the vision and mission of any organization. So finding something that matches your passion is going to drive you forward. It's going to make you excited and actually really help you get clear on what your career could look like and what job you want to be in, where you can make the biggest difference and earn yourself a decent salary along the way. And then finally, it's practical, all about your skills. So have a think about what skills you've got. You know, are you great at budgeting and accounting and forecasting? Are you really organized? Do you like organizing events? Is that a skill that you've got? Maybe you're good at coaching and developing or training other people. Maybe you've got fantastic IT skills and you're right up with infrastructure or, you know, the latest innovation in the digital app market. Maybe you've got fantastic skills at project or program management. Whatever it is, I want you to really think about your skills, because there will be so many of them. So the trick here is to write yourself a list of all of the skills that you've got, down to the smallest thing. But then next to those skills, decide which ones of them you like doing and which ones of them you don't like doing. And you know, there's always things in jobs that we have to do that we don't like. But is there anything in that list that you like? I really can't be a project manager because I'm going to have to write reports and I really hate writing reports. I'm not good at it because I don't like it. So there's no point in me going for a job where I have to write reports unless I can outsource it or delegate it. So sometimes there is always a way to get around it. But the point here is that, you know, this is about getting clear on what your career will look like. So as well as your passions and your values and everything, we need to understand what your skills are and which skills you actually enjoy doing, so that you can start to take that all into account when you're thinking about what the next step is for you. So these are the 5 things I want you to go away and have a little think about. And it might take a bit of time to actually reflect on it. And, you know, you might start a list and then it might change. You might add values or take values off as you find things that are different as you're thinking about it. Just keep the work running, and really get clear with yourself who you are. This is, you know, this is who you are, but actually who you want to be. Who is it that you want to become? Who is it that you want to, you know, aspire to be? And, you know, then start to have a think about, okay, we've got all this information now. What roles are there out there that meet this requirement in my field? Because there's no point in dreaming up a job. Unfortunately, you can't apply for a job that doesn't exist. So get out there and have a look with all the skills and that you've got. I mean, sometimes it'll be really obvious where you're going, but other times it won't, and you might have to think a bit broader, a bit wider. You might have to think outside the box a little bit to actually meet. But once you start getting clear on your passions and what you really want and your skills, you might start to think a bit differently anyway. And somebody else, have a conversation with people around you, because they might say, I saw this job the other day which would really fit what you want to do. So, there's a whole bit of research and that to be done here. What is the closest role to all of the things that you want that you could do from a six-figure point of view? That's what we're looking for here. We'll come back to next step. But, whatever job you're actually in at the moment and you've got those skills for, there will be a six-figure job. You might have to think a bit differently. You might have to think a bit bigger, but there will be a six-figure job. Now, for example, if you're a carer, you might be sitting there thinking, well, I'm a carer, I'm never going to earn 100 grand. But why not? There are managing directors of group care homes who are earning that sort of money. Now, that might be a way off, but it is possible. So, it is about thinking, in my field, what are the six-figure jobs? Look out there, do some research and find out what they are. If you're a housing officer, then you could absolutely become the executive director of housing. That will get you 130 grand salary, depending on where you are in the country. If you're a project manager, you could end up being the director of transformation or business change. There are roles out there for you. If you work in accounts, whatever, paying invoices, being a management accountant, you could end up being a finance director. Now, in some of these, there might be some qualifications along the way that you have to get, but if you really want it, you'll find a way to do it. But my point is that there is always a job there. No matter what role you're in at the moment, there is a job. There is a job that is a six-figure salary. So have a little think about what that might be. Do some research on it so that you can dream about it, plan for it, get inspired by the fact that that job is there. There's no reason why you shouldn't have it. Look at the people that are working in those jobs. They're just ordinary people like you and me. They are just ordinary people who have just learnt the skills that they need to climb the ladder and not been scared to do it. So your roadmap starts with your end goal. Your end goal is your dream job. What is the six-figure job that you could go for, even if it's a step away? And then what we do from there is that's where your starting point is, and then we work backwards. We say, okay, what jobs could we get in order to get there? Because there'll be a stepped approach, depending on where you are in your career. You will have to take a step up. But once we know, we can just plan for that. So what we now need to do is think about, okay, so what is the next step I could take? What is the next level up? Now, this might be an obvious thing because there might be a natural next step from where you are, but just double check that that next step is on the right trajectory to get you to your dream job. Sometimes we might have to take a sideways move. Sometimes we might even need to take a backwards move in order to get where we need to go. But it is worth doing that if you really want this end goal. But otherwise, just get out there and have a look at what that next level job is that you could do. What skills can you learn now in order to get that job? We'll talk a bit more about that on Thursday in another session. But for the moment, just get clear on what your dream job is, work through this process, and then what your next step job is. And there'll be a gap in the middle, which we'll come back to, because this is about getting clear on success and what is the next step that is going to get you towards that dream job. So take that away, have a good think about it, and don't give up until you know what that dream job is and what that next step is. Okay? And I will see you in the next session where I want to talk to you all about how to position yourself as the best candidate for that six-figure job. Okay, good luck.